My brother wants to stay with me for a bit, rent-free, while he works on some tech startups in college. None of his previous startups have done well, and I don't really mind that fact at all. I'd be open to him staying with me if he wasn't so condescending and rude. My brother has it in his head that he's allowed to be demeaning to everyone because he's got a high IQ and is a brutally honest, burnt-out, gifted kid. He had this full justification from doing an online IQ test and scoring 140. He later confirmed his score with an actual professional test, which I think is a sad thing to do. In my family, we all did quite well academically, and we're all quite smart. But my brother was far and away the brightest, but he hasn't really tried in college at all. He has it in his head that he's better than everyone and won't learn anything in college. He compares himself to other famous dropouts like Bill Gates and Zuckerberg. He can be disrespectful of people taking a more traditional route. I've never been talked down to for doing medicine other than him. He and my parents are livid at me because I'm not having him in my place unless he works a normal job. I don't even want him to pay. I think it'll teach him to be more humble and how hard it is out there. I'm not gonna lie, he truly is probably the brightest person I've ever met. But he's arrogant to near delusion, and my parents enable it. Getting a job will definitely not hurt his chances of succeeding himself. The discipline and perspective would help him massively. If this was just it, I wouldn't even consider the possibility of myself being in the wrong. But my parents did give me the deposit for my place and helped a bit at the start paying it off. And if I don't take him, they'll have to pay more rent somewhere else. However, they gave me that deposit without attaching these strings to it. It's my place, and I feel what I say goes, even if I am grateful for their help. I feel conflicted because I don't want my parents paying even more in rent for him, but I also don't want to give my lazy and arrogant brother free housing with me. I'd be happy to live with him if he were contributing and didn't act with the arrogance of someone who's a temporarily embarrassed tech billionaire who's above working a normal job. So until I get that confirmation, I'm not having him. Am I the idiot? Edit. My parents live too far from college for him to live with them. They otherwise would definitely take him. I don't doubt that, they always take in family, and I think they assumed I would do the same. And to clarify, I'm not asking whether you think my brother is intelligent or not. Loads are giving opinions on his intelligence. That's not the question here. He scored 140 plus on a WACE-verified online IQ test. And when we hassled him on it, he was annoyed enough to get our parents to get him a professional in-person test, where he got the exact same score. He also got a perfect score in the EQ section of a medical entrance exam. He simply is smart. That doesn't mean he can't be wrong in this situation, or that he has to be stupid emotionally for him to be of poor character. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Ignore that he's your brother completely. That's not a reason to have him as a roommate. Why would you want a roommate who's insufferably arrogant and won't contribute around the house? It sounds like your parents have fed his arrogance rather than do what good parents should, bleed his ego down to a reasonable level. I knew a lot of kids like him in college. Some of them had IQs over 160. Many of them just dropped out of college, and I never heard from them or about them again. A high IQ does nothing unless it's paired with a strong work ethic. Comment 2. I feel what I say goes. It does. If you let the jobless, underachieving, arrogant layabout into your home, you'll never get him out. Not the idiot. I feel conflicted because I don't want my parents paying even more in rent for him. That's their choice. They don't get to volunteer your space to save themselves money. Now, for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been a month since I last posted about my brother wanting to crash at my place rent-free while he works on his tech startups in college. Well, buckle up, because things have escalated, and I'm back with an update that's going to make your blood boil. First off, let me fill you in on some history that I didn't mention before. My brother has always had this obsession with being the next big thing in tech. When we were kids, he'd dismantle our parents' old computers just to see if he could put them back together. He was a natural, no doubt, but his attitude stank even back then. He'd brag about how he was going to be a millionaire before he hit 20. Spoiler alert, that didn't happen. Now, on to the juicy stuff. After our last confrontation, my brother did something unbelievable. He went behind my back and convinced our parents that I had agreed to let him stay. So, imagine my shock when I came home from a grueling 24-hour shift at the hospital to find him lounging on my couch, surrounded by his gadgets and gizmos. He had the audacity to look surprised when I asked what the heck he was doing there. Turns out, he spun a sob story to our parents about how he was on the verge of a breakthrough with his latest startup and just needed a stable environment to work in. And, because they're ever the enablers, they fell for it hook, line and sinker. They even helped him move his stuff in while I was at work. I was livid, but before I could kick him out, he played his trump card. He reminded me of the deposit our parents gave me for my place and how they'd be financially strained if they had to rent him an apartment. He knew exactly how to manipulate the situation, and I felt trapped. Over the past month, things have gone from bad to worse. He's been parading around my apartment like he owns the place, leaving a trail of mess in his wake. He's constantly on calls, talking loudly about his revolutionary ideas, and has the nerve to shush me in my own home. But here's the kicker. He's been bringing over potential investors to my place without my permission. Last week, I walked in on a meeting he was having with some slick-looking guy who was clearly more interested in my brother's charm than his actual tech skills. They were discussing figures that made my head spin, and when I tried to intervene, my brother had the gall to tell me to stay out of grown-up business. And remember how I mentioned he was condescending and rude? Well, he's been undermining my career too. He told one of his so-called investors that being a doctor was a mundane and predictable path, and that I lacked the vision to understand his genius. I overheard this while I was making myself a sandwich in the kitchen, and it took all my self-control not to throw the whole plate at him. But here's where karma comes in, subtly righting all wrongs. That investor I mentioned? Turns out he was a con artist. He played my brother like a fiddle, feeding into his ego, and convinced him to hand over a significant chunk of his startup funds as a good faith investment. My brother was so blinded by his own arrogance that he didn't see the scam for what it was. When the truth came out, my brother was devastated. Not only was he out of money, but his reputation took a hit too. The small tech community in our city is tight-knit, and word gets around fast. Suddenly, he wasn't the hotshot he thought he was. His arrogance had finally caught up with him. As for me, I've had enough. I told him he needs to find a new place to live and get a real job to support himself. He's been sulking ever since the con artist incident, and I think he's starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, he's not the infallible genius he thought he was. Fiancé's sister calls our Halloween wedding childish, so I stand up for our dream day, and now the family's split. But when the secret sabotage comes out, we go covert and plan our big day without them. I need another opinion here. This feels ridiculous, but maybe I'm not thinking clearly. I, 32-year-old male, am engaged to my fiancé, 33-year-old male, and I couldn't be happier. He's the most amazing and warm man I've ever known. Our wedding is at the end of the year in October. We're both big Halloween enthusiasts, so we decided for our reception we'd do a costume party. All our guests are encouraged to bring a costume to change into for the reception. The majority of our guests think it's a great idea and are already planning their costumes. The trouble is with my soon-to-be sister-in-law, 27-year-old female, whom I will refer to as May here. May is, for lack of a better term, a stick in the mud. She's very serious about everything, all the time. May thinks that having a costume party for our wedding reception is idiotic and childish. My mother-in-law is on her side, insisting that we should reconsider and be more traditional. My father-in-law, on the other hand, is with us, agreeing we should be able to enjoy our wedding however we want. My fiancé is just so fed up with his mom and sister. May especially has been really obnoxious about it. Now here's where I might be the jerk. Last week, we were at an event for my fiancé's family. I think it was a cousin's birthday, but I don't remember. The topic of our wedding came up, and several family members excitedly started saying what costumes they were picking for the reception. This seemed to annoy May. When my fiancé mentioned the costumes we were going to wear, May snapped. She stood up and got in her brother's face. She called him a child and said how stupid he was for wanting to do this. That she couldn't believe he would marry someone that encouraged this ridiculous behavior. I got a little heated, listening to her berate my fiancé, and screamed at her to shut up. She rounded on me and told me she wishes my fiancé had never met me so he could be with someone normal. I told May if anyone was acting like a child right now, it was her throwing a tantrum over someone else's wedding that she wasn't contributing to or helping with in any way. She had absolutely no right to call me and my fiancé names just because she's physically incapable of enjoying anything. And that if she's so against our reception idea, then she might as well not even come to the wedding, because I don't want her whining like a toddler to ruin our night. She called me a prick and left. The party ended pretty quickly after. My fiancé kissed me like a madman when we got home, thanking me for putting his sister in her place, because he hates fighting. My mother-in-law and May have been blowing up both our phones since then, saying I needed to apologize to May for embarrassing her. When I told them I'll apologize when she does, they got even more upset. His family is split on the matter. Did I really go too far insulting her back? Am I the idiot? I don't think I'm in the wrong, but maybe it's because I'm still mad about the whole situation. Update. Hey everyone, quick little update. Thank you all for all the kind words. I showed the post to my fiancé, and he wanted me to clarify that we did, in fact, apologize to his cousin for being part of the reason their party got messed up. Thankfully, they were super cool about it and didn't blame us specifically. I know some of you were worried about that too. Also, yeah, it was a birthday party. I blanked on that a little while writing before, so it probably sounded ruder than I meant it to. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Probably not the most elegant way of doing so, but you still did the right thing. It's your and your fiancé's wedding. If you're down for a costume party for a reception, go for it. Hell, my oldest brother and his wife had everyone in costume even for the wedding itself. Similar situation. Wedding was in October and they both love Halloween. Everyone enjoyed themselves and it was a wonderful ceremony and reception. Not the idiot. If your sister-in-law thinks this is ridiculous, then she shouldn't go to the wedding at all. Ditto for mother-in-law. Comment 2. Nope, not the idiot at all. It's your wedding, and you and your fiancé's decision. Sounds like fun, by the way. I love Halloween too. Sounds like May and her mom are cut from the same cloth. Luckily, your fiancé and his dad are too. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I think you did the right thing. Hopefully she can apologize in the future and eventually move on from this, so the family isn't divided. Congratulations, by the way. Now, for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been a tense couple of weeks since my last post about the drama with my fiancé's sister, May, and our Halloween-themed wedding reception. I've got some updates that I need to get off my chest. So, after the blowout at the cousin's birthday party, things went from bad to worse. My fiancé and I thought we could just ride out the storm, but boy were we wrong. May, who had been a thorn in our side about the wedding, did something that none of us saw coming. Remember how I mentioned my mother-in-law was siding with May? Well, turns out she was doing more than just siding with her. She was plotting. My fiancé's mom had been secretly trying to sabotage our wedding plans. She went behind our backs and called our venue, pretending to be my fiancé, and tried to cancel the whole thing. Luckily, the venue called us to confirm, and we caught on to her game. But here's the juicy betrayal. It wasn't just my mother-in-law acting alone. May was in on it too. They thought if they could cancel the venue, we'd have no choice but to go with a more traditional wedding. When we confronted them, May broke down and confessed everything. She said she felt left out because she didn't understand our love for Halloween and felt like we were turning what should be a family event into a joke. Now, let's rewind a bit to give you some context. May has always been the type to want things her way. When we first announced our engagement, she was the one who insisted on throwing us an engagement party. It was her way of trying to control how our wedding narrative started. She's always been about appearances, and our costume party idea just didn't fit her image of a perfect wedding. Back to the present. my fiancé was devastated. He couldn't believe his own mother and sister would go to such lengths late. It was a huge blowout, and for a moment, it looked like our wedding was on the brink of being called off. But then, something unexpected happened. My father-in-law, who had been quietly supportive of us, stepped in like a hero. He had a long talk with both my mother-in-law and May, telling them they had to respect our choices. He reminded them that the wedding was about us, not them. After that, things started to calm down. My mother-in-law and May both apologized, but the trust was broken. We decided to put them on an information diet regarding the wedding plans. We're still going ahead with our Halloween reception, but now we're keeping the details under wraps to avoid any more sabotage attempts. In the midst of all this, my fiancé and I grew closer. We realized that if we could get through this together, we could get through anything. We've been spending our evenings planning our costumes and decorations, making sure everything is perfect. As for May, she's been trying to make amends. She offered to help with some of the planning, but we're keeping her at arm's length for now. We appreciate the gesture, but we're not ready to fully trust her again just yet. The rest of the family has been a mixed bag. Some are still on the fence, but most have come around to the idea of our costume party reception. They're excited to see what we have planned and have been sending us their costume ideas. My best friend marries my brother and expects me at her desert wedding while I'm high-risk pregnant, but I choose my baby's safety and now the whole family's in an uproar. There's a lot of background, so buckle up. One of my very best friends is marrying my older brother. She and I have been close since before they started dating, and to be honest, I am much closer to her than my brother. She has her wedding planned for the end of May of this year. We live in a desert area, so an outdoor wedding in May is pretty hot. I am currently 22 weeks pregnant. I am due in mid-June, and I am fairly high risk, history of preeclampsia, and this is my third kid. I live almost 3 hours from the wedding venue. I told her I wouldn't be able to go within a month of my due date, and insisted she not plan her wedding around me when they started talking about getting married. She said she wanted me there and set the wedding for the end of May. Thinking a different calendar month was enough. It's 25 days before the due date. I love my doctor. We've been preventing things when we can, and he knows my health history very well. Both of my other kids were at least a week early. So, I told her my husband and I wouldn't be attending. They are not engaged yet. They have just paid for the venue and photographer. There won't be a dinner, more like a dessert bar. They haven't sent invites or anything. They haven't started counting how many people, so they shouldn't be out any money if my husband and I are not there. Obviously, she isn't upset about the money. She wants 2 of her best friends there. Here's why I might be an extra jerk. She has a lot of trauma related to her family dying when she was young, so most of the attendees will be the groom's side. Her new parents will be mine, and they're super mean to her because she and my brother are living together before marriage. I want to be there to defend her because they were mad at me and my husband for the same thing, which isn't their business, and I will make sure they keep that to themselves. Before she told me the dates, I said yes to being a bridesmaid. I knew I needed to tell her ASAP that we can't come, especially because I said yes first, thinking it would be after the baby, since the engagement will be very short. I kind of put my foot down when she tried to solve the problem. She insists that because she's a nurse, she would be able to handle anything that happened. I told her that her experience in NICU wouldn't help me at her wedding, and I don't think she loved that. She insisted I could sit down whenever I wanted, or attend as a guest, not as a member of the bridal party. She also said there was a hospital 10 minutes away, and I reminded her my doctor was hours away. She insisted labor and delivery doctors are trained to handle all situations and that it would be fine, and I told her I wanted my specific doctor. She hasn't spoken to me in a few hours, and I feel pretty awful. Anyways, am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Repeat after me. I love you. I wish we could be there, especially to run interference with the parents. But with my medical history, I need to stay near my doctor for at least a month before the wedding. and I won't be able to travel for months after birth due to having an infant. You can't make your plans around me, no matter how much we love you now and will love you after you are married. You are family. You always will be. I'm so sorry. Say it or send it in a text, and then hold your ground. I'm sure she's deeply disappointed and really hoped to make it work to have you there. Life is not perfect sometimes, and our plans don't always work out. Comment 2. Not the idiot. You and your baby's health and safe delivery are the only priority. Not her wedding. Yes, there's a hospital 10 minutes away, but people with high-risk pregnancies plan ahead and also want to be taken care of by the doctor they're familiar with. I assume there's a birth plan and an emergency plan since both your kids came early. You would love to go, but not at the risk to your life or that of your kid. If she doesn't understand that, that's her problem. If my bestie couldn't make it, I'd change my wedding date to a date she can be guaranteed to make it. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. I never expected it to blow up like it did. A lot has happened since then, so here's the update you've all been waiting for. 3 months have passed since I told my best friend, who's also about to become my sister-in-law, that I couldn't attend her wedding. You might remember that she and my brother hadn't even gotten engaged yet, but they'd already booked the venue and photographer. Well, they're officially engaged now, and the wedding planning has kicked into high gear. But let's get to the juicy stuff. Remember how I mentioned my soon-to-be sister-in-law has a rocky relationship with our parents because she and my brother live together? That situation has only gotten worse. Our parents have been relentless, criticizing their every move, and it's put a strain on everyone. I've been trying to be there for her, but with my own pregnancy and the distance, it's been tough. Now, here's where things get really complicated. My brother reached out to me, begging me to reconsider coming to the wedding. He said it meant the world to him and my friend to have me there. He even offered to pay for a private ambulance to be on standby, just in case. I was touched by the gesture, but it didn't change the fact that my doctor is hours away and I'm not willing to take that risk. The tension between my best friend and me has been thick. She's been giving me the cold shoulder, and I've heard from other friends that she's been venting about me, saying I'm not making enough of an effort to be part of her special day. It hurts, but I have to put my health and my baby first. But wait, it gets even messier. My husband, who's been my rock through all of this, recently got into a huge argument with my brother. They've always been close, but my brother accused him of not supporting their family enough and said some pretty harsh things about our decision to prioritize our baby's health over the wedding. It was a blowout fight, and now there's this awkward rift in the family. And just when I thought things couldn't get more strained, my best friend dropped a bombshell. She's pregnant too. She's only a few weeks along, but she's already experiencing some complications. She's a nurse, so she's trying to stay calm, but I can tell she's scared. This should be a time for us to support each other, but with everything that's happened, it's like there's an invisible wall between us. The wedding is now just a month away, and the pressure is mounting. My friend has been avoiding conversations with me, and I've been walking on eggshells, trying not to make things worse. I want to be there for her, but it feels like no matter what I do, it's not enough. To add to the drama, my parents have been hounding me about making peace with my friend before the wedding. They don't want any family drama to overshadow the big day, but they're also still giving her a hard time about her living situation with my brother, which is only adding to her stress. The unresolved conflict is tearing me apart. I'm stuck between my loyalty to my best friend and my responsibility to my own family. I'm trying to navigate this minefield of emotions, but it feels like every step I take could lead to disaster. And just when I thought I had a handle on things, my friend reached out to me last night. She was crying, saying she felt alone and didn't know if she could handle the stress of the wedding and her pregnancy. I wanted to comfort her, but I also felt a surge of frustration. Why couldn't she see that I'm in a similar boat? If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.